we were going to touch on old Uncle Charlie
Yeah.
because I think you start a pretty damn good song off with him.
Yeah, it is inspiration for a lot of my music. And one song that I wrote called America is tribute to Uncle Charlie and that story about him, my father, and everybody else that came during what we call the greatest generation. I mean, I think it's phenomenal that we can even walk around and have the ability to do what we do, play the game of golf, kind of live life pretty free. And it's very easy to take for granted all the sacrifices that were made to get there. So I'm not a patriot or some Second Amendment crazy person. Like I'm not saying that you have to be crazy to believe in the Second Amendment. I'm not one to go around saying you can't change it one bit. Everybody should have guns. The world should be free. That's not me. I do believe that our values, particularly in America, that have been set, they need to be respected. Do I think they could change? Of course. I mean, times have changed and maybe they'll get addressed. But when it comes to respecting what took place to get us the world we have today, there's not a soul in the world that should ever dismiss the value of what that generation did for us. It was phenomenal. To live in that time under that type of, goal of some crazy nut that wanted to just kill people because of what they believed in or what was in their blood, that was just insane. So for people like my father and my uncles and friends and their parents and anybody else in the world that stepped up to change and give us the world we have today, I don't think anybody on this world should ever disrespect that. It really bothers me when I see people kind of making it political. It's really anyway. So that's certainly something that shaped my life. And for somebody, I love playing music. I don't do it for money, but I'm very passionate about it. My very good friend Matt Schaefer and his wife Rena. You can thank Rena for the creation of that song. They actually came out to see me play a charity event not far from Marion Golf Club, where Matt was superintendent at the time, and I was playing some songs for a kid who got hit by a drunk driver, and they were trying to raise some money for his treatment. And Rena came up to me. Rena's Matt's wife, and she said, "Carmen, have you ever thought about writing a song about what's going on in the world with the military and how soldiers sacrifice so much?" And I told her this story about Uncle Charlie, and she literally looked at me and said, "That's your song." And I went home that night and I wrote the song, and the next day I sent them a copy. I said, "Hey, thanks for the guidance, but here's my song." And Matt said, "Holy crap, Carmen, you need to be on the radio."
But I don't think you said holy crap, but yeah.
It was never my intention. Like you have to have reason for doing things. I have never had reason to play music to be famous or to be on the radio. I just it's a hobby, and I love doing it.
I'm going to call you the Jackson Brown of the turf industry.
Nah.
You got a little bit of Jackson Brown to you.
That's good to hear. There's a lot of supers out there that I see on social media that all play music. I would love to organize a group to just get an on-stage event at the GIS show and just have an open forum, and just play. That would be a lot of fun. And
I tell you what, I think you're onto something. We need to set up a jam session.
That would be awesome.
Maybe that's something Ergonomic can sponsor, is a jam session at the GIS.
Well, Pogo would be right there with you.
That'd be cool. Like you said, there's a lot of talented people out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of good talent, supers and assistants and people in our industry. I agree. The interesting thing, all this discussion about family and how it's influenced who Carmen is today. I mentioned my brother Joe earlier. My brother Joe was older. He was 13 when my dad died, and that's a tough time to lose your father.
Sure.
And so he struggled his whole life, but he was a phenomenal bass player. I mean, I'm talking all that kind of slapping you see on a bass guitar today. He was doing that before that was even a thing.
And like Les Claypool type stuff.
Oh yeah, he would sit in his room and play the entire Pink Floyd, album. And he would play Yes. He wouldn't miss a single note with Yes. And anybody that knows the band Yes, that music is very hard to play. And Joey, my brother, he was phenomenal, and he was really my inspiration for music. Even though I had an aptitude for music very early on, I just picked up an accordion that my father had when I was maybe 6 and just started playing it. And I played the bugle or the flute, the trumpet in the Boy Scouts. And I played that in church as well. I played the flute for a while, but it wasn't until Joey was in this rock band. He was about 16, I guess, at the time. And I got this kind of bug to play rock and roll. And I'm like, you know what? If you're going to be in a rock and roll band, you got to be the drummer. So I told my mom I want to be a drummer. And so I started banging around on her pots and pans and her Tupperware, and I'm breaking stuff. And she finally gave in, and she bought me a drum kit for my 14th birthday. Well, my brother's band was due to play at a Philadelphia rec center outdoors, big concert, and their drummer broke his collarbone. And they had about 8 days to go to this event. And he came up to me and said, "You're now our drummer." I'm like, "Joe, I just got the drum kit. I don't even know what I'm doing." So he gave me Back in Black, the album, and said, "Learn every song on this album. We don't play a lot of AC/DC, but if you can keep that straight beat and keep in time, you can play the concert." And that's what I did. I learned how to play drums to the beat of, Back in Black. And then I went on to learn, Rush and Yes, and they did a lot of Springsteen, and it was a great band to be in. And so that kind of catapulted me into playing music live, and it's that bug has never left my system. So but he unfortunately battled those demons for a long time. He played with the band Cinderella for a while. They would practice.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if you know much about Cinderella, but Tommy Kiefer, the singer, was a singer in the church. It was Holy Cross Church in Springfield County, Pennsylvania. And him and his, I think it was his guitarist, they were basically the church music. And he went on to be this crazy, metal rock singer.
Glam band, yeah.
But my brother used to sit in on their practices, and my cousin Bobby was also a great bass player. He was actually in the band for a while. And so I was around music quite a bit growing up, but I just but anyway, did Joey
can you read music, or is it all by ear?
I can read, but if you give me something I'm not familiar with, it would take me days to figure it out from the notes. But if you play a recording of it, give me about 40 minutes and I'll probably know it pretty well.
Wow.
Just play it a few times. I write a lot of songs, a lot of originals, and there's many times when I'm traveling, I'm on an airplane, and I'll just hum the melody in my head. I'll come up with words, and by the time I get home, when I sit down on my piano, it's a done song. It's like all been rehearsed and practiced in my head. So I do have a knack for playing by ear, and I have a lot of respect for people that play by reading the notes, because it's like reading a language, but that's not me.